Hi, my name is Joe Jackson. I'm an interviewer, author, journalist and broadcaster, and what you're about to hear is one of the roughly 1,400 interviews I did. But do allow for the fact that many of the interviews were done for the print media and recorded on cassette tapes. So some are, let's say, sonically challenged. But I happen to believe that sonic considerations should give way to historical significance at times. And I'm glad to say that at least some powers that be in RTE Radio 1 agreed with me on this. And broadcast between 2015 and 2018 many of my interviews in a series called The Joe Jackson Tapes Revisited. What follows is a programme that was made for that series, but in this case never broadcast. And I want to say something about it specifically. As I say at the end of the show, I said to my girlfriend at the time, within minutes of walking away from Jimmy Savile, I feel spiritually polluted having been in his presence, though I don't know why. I now know why. In fact, listening 19 years later to my nervous laughter throughout the interview, I suspect that a part of me sensed instinctively something of all we have since come to learn about that abomination called Jimmy Savile. I also say in the original show that I felt morally torn when it came to the question of giving Savile airtime again, in any sense. The same applies to my now deciding to make the show available as a podcast. But I made the original decision because at least during our chat, I did try to explore the psychology of my interviewee, as has always been my tendency. Did I succeed in doing so? You decide. The most I will claim for this 2001 interview is that it can be seen as a snapshot of the psychopathology of a sociopath. Once upon a time, Jimmy Savile was a hero to millions. Indeed, like me, you may remember discovering Savile thanks to Top of the Pops, or courtesy of the Teen and 20 Disc Club on Radio Luxembourg. If you're an Elvis fan, you may have seen him pictured in Elvis Monthly, standing beside the King on the set of the movie Roustabout. Likewise, later during the 60s, you may remember cheering as Savile arrived on Dublin's Middle Abbey Street to lead the charity walk for the Central Remedial Clinic. And you may have been one of the countless thousands of people who followed the man religiously on that walk every year out to the Baldoyle racecourse and laterally to the RDS. And you may have loved his long-time BBC TV show, Jim Will Fix It, on which Savile helped turn into reality the dreams of many a child. These are precious memories, so let's not give Savile, who we now know to have been a serial sexual abuser, in life, the power after death to violate those memories. It would probably only make him smile. And why do I say all this at the start of the programme? Because in 2001, when I interviewed Savile, I came to him as a fan of sorts, and it shows. What follows certainly is not one of my best interviews. It may be one of my worst. If only because, like many media interviewers, such as most recently at the time Louis Theroux and psychotherapist Anthony Clare, I barely scratched the surface of Jimmy Savile. Then again, at the end of our interview, Savile describes himself as a professional answerer, which I'd now take to mean professional liar. What follows certainly isn't the kind of soul-searching interview I prefer to do. Either way, it took place in the Central Remedial Clinic. Savile, at the time, was 75, dressed in a suit covered with comic book pictures of Superman. Its plunging neckline, showing off his hairy chest and a gold medallion, seemed wildly inappropriate for his age, and he insisted we do the interview in a noisy dining room, where we later were joined by children from the CRC. Incidentally, even though this interview was for the print media, and I'm not a fan of linear narratives that begin with he, she was born in, I did resequence the tape to give us as closely as possible the life story of a hero who in the end turned out to be a monster.
Right. But you came from a poor background. I mean, I read this memory once, that when your mum brought you to a romance school to visit because she was a social worker, you said, how do I get in here?
How can I get in there? Yeah, because, listen, it was fabulous.
But were things really that bad at home?
No.
Because your dad died. How old were you when your dad died?
I was still a teenager
when
he died. But the thing was that, bear in mind it was wartime.
Yeah.
My dad was a bookish clerk.
Okay.
And they stopped the racing, the horse racing.
All right, during the war. Okay.
So, now, he never in his life earned more than £3.50 a week.
Okay.
And there were 9 of us.
Right.
7.
All right.
And the Duchess and no mum.
Right.
And really, to me, that was the making of me, because I went to a school that didn't have any homework or anything like that, and it taught me what I call the 4 R's: reading, writing, reckoning up, and the difference in between right and wrong.
Okay.
That's all I needed.
Okay. All right.
That's all I needed. I was down the road then.
Right.
And all he did was join up with the University of Life, and I'd worked out early doors, because I was surrounded by people that of that income group that would do a bit of stealing.
Right. Okay.
But
And could you never have gone that path?
no,
by
because
default?
it was logic. Of course I could have gone that path.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I chose not to deliberately, because the way that I looked at it, there was never 52 pay weeks in a year for that.
Okay. Right.
So they'd have a score, right?
You couldn't score every week.
And then you'd have another score. And then they said how clever they were, and I thought, do me a favour, they're getting locked up here.
Yeah.
You're better off with 52 pay weeks in a year than you are with 8.
Okay.
And a hand on your collar. So
Yeah.
it was nothing, it was total logic.
Okay.
And it was the same as not getting married. I saw my brothers and sisters, God bless them, all finish up with upsets, and the people that you knew finish up with upsets. Now I thought, because I was quite a logical punter, and I thought, what is the difference in between this amazing, lovey-dovey atmosphere of a wedding, with trestle tables and food,
Yeah.
best clothes,
Yeah.
and drink, and people having a good time, and the bride and groom giving it and next minute they want to kill each other. Now I was intrigued with how there was a difference, and what happened, you know. Did they bang her head against a wall, or what? But there was one sure thing obvious, that setup for me was pointless.
All right.
To have all this big performance, which was rather like a clown's face, like the ceremony, and then whatever. A few weeks later, the one like strangling.
When did you decide that? You didn't decide that young?
Yeah, then.
Well, how young?
Yes, I must have been 10 or 11 at the time.
When you decided against it?
Yeah. No,
Did you ever propose to a woman?
Never.
Did you ever be proposed to? Did anyone ever propose to you?
So. No, I don't think so.
So
no.
you never came remotely near?
No, because I'm not the sort of lad. You see, I'm sitting there with the girls, right?
Yeah. I'm playing into them.
They love all that, right? Because I'm a bit outrageous.
Okay.
Right, they carry on. But not one of them would say to each other, oh, I wouldn't mind marrying him because I'm not the marrying sort of atmosphere.
Yeah.
I'm not the marrying type. I'm a villain, you understand? I'm a villain. And
You're a villain in romance if you didn't become a villain in the other
well,
way.
whatever, yeah, villain. But it doesn't work out that way, and it was logic. And I was dead right, because all the way through my life, it's been marvellous, the fact that one can enjoy all these ladies without two-timing somebody.
All right. But you didn't just... You had relationships with loads of... You claimed you had hundreds of lovers on trains and boats and planes and everything.
Well, naturally, being a fella of athletic prowess, of course, obviously at the time when the girls are there, and off you go. But I've never ever lied to them. I've never said, if we have it off now, I'll marry you tomorrow.
Okay.
Or anything like that.
Right,
because
okay.
they know the score, you understand?
Right, okay.
So
Yeah.
It was a very clean.
But were you ever in love?
Clean way. No.
Never in love?
I don't think so. No.
Jesus.
I don't think so.
All right.
No. I've got enough logic to know whether I was or not. You see, right? Opinions of love. Love is, I think, is doing something which is against your common sense, purely because it's emotional.
Okay.
Right? In other words, if you fall for somebody that is not worth falling for, but you're falling for them, you say, they're not worth falling for, but do it.
Yeah.
Look at these girls that marry druggies and things like that, you know, they know that...
Right.
No, with me it was never like that. It was always a terribly sort of logical way of going on, and I'm saying, this girl is terrific. She is everything that a fella could want.
Yeah.
But tomorrow it's not going to be like that.
And you were always sure of that?
Yeah.
Was there never a bit of romance in your soul that said maybe it won't go that way?
No. I was inclined to say that, but I'd seen too many people say that.
Right.
I'd seen too many girls say, I know he's no good for me.
But do you not know
but
couples
I'll change
where
him."
it lasted and was right? brothers or sisters or whoever, where you said
right,
they didn't end up beating each other or whatever.
Right. On top of all that logic, and on top of all that, me seeing her say, yeah, I know, but I'll change him. Or, yeah, she's a bit of a cow, but I'm sure she'll calm down. Right, top of that, I had this marvellous life going for me anyway.
All right.
Now, why should I swap?
Yeah. All right.
Right, today, I can get up. I can come here dressed like this because there's a lot of kids about, right?
Yeah.
Even now, the classrooms that I was in yesterday, that I could say overpowered them a bit. The first question they've asked the teacher this morning is he coming back? Will he come back today? Right. So I can indulge in coming here dressed like this in the total innocence of having a good time. No hidden agenda.
You're a villain in romance, even if you didn't become a villain the other way. I got that right. And did you hear Savile say no when I asked if he had any romance in his soul? And he said, love is doing something which is against your common sense because it is emotional. Thank God it is, and here's to those who love. In fact, listening to those quotes again, including Savile's statement that he had no hidden agenda in visiting the CRC, I realised that maybe he gave away more about his psychopathology as a sociopath than he or I noticed at the time. Anyway, soon after that part of our chat, I asked if it was true, as I'd read, that Savile was a mean person. The Duchess he refers to here is his mother.
What does mean?
Right.
I'd never dream of throwing money away.
But does that go back to the childhood when all your folk and people had to...
Who knows what it goes for?
Right. But was it that tough as childhood? You talked about that, just how poor it was.
No.
How poor you were.
How no money, there was no money ever, but it didn't affect any of us because the Duchess
Right.
was rich in spirit.
Okay.
So spirit, we never complained about having no money. It was a fact of life.
Okay.
So we had the basics, and we had a lot of spirit, a total love situation, and we could all go and make up our own minds what we wanted to do. Now, all my brothers and sisters, albeit they had to go for the war and things like that, so I'm suggesting that made a tremendous difference to people.
Yeah.
But they all got married, they all did the same.
You couldn't go to the war, you couldn't, because of the accident?
No. When my call-up time came, I got pulled out of the forces to go down the pit. They put the number from 1 to 0 in a hat.
Right.
And they pulled out a number, and everybody whose national service number ended in that number went down the pit.
Oh, okay, so that's how you went down.
I did 7 years training for the ATC.
Right.
Finished up the Mile Underground. I could recognise every aeroplane in the bleeding sky and finished up the bleeding Mile Underground because he'd bugger all. I'd bang your head.
Most histories of pop I'd read claimed that Jimmy Savile became a DJ circa 1958, spinning the latest hits such as Jailhouse Rock at Hops and Leeds. Not so, he told me. He actually became a DJ 13 years earlier. Incidentally, a seeming indicator of Savile's shameless narcissism comes across in the following quote when he claims that he invented dancing to records. Likewise, later in the interview, he claims to have invented the sponsored walk and Top of the Pops.
I got started into being a DJ because I worked down the pit.
Yeah.
Right? And I got blown up in what's called a shot fire's explosion.
Okay.
Where I was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Nobody had told me not to be there. And I finished up with a steel jacket, which I've still got to this day.
Okay.
With steel spines down it, and 2 sticks.
Did you have to wear that for 3 years? I've read that somewhere.
Yes, at least,
right,
yes.
Okay.
Yes. But what that meant was that you got, you couldn't do no more physical work.
Okay.
Right? But at the time I was only getting £1 and 1 shilling a week for 6 shifts, 21 bob.
All right.
Now, here with 2 sticks, steel jacket, can't work anymore. I've gone down to 74 pence a week sick money.
All right.
If anybody says that clouds don't have a silver lining, because I actually invented dancing to records, there's me not able to do anything.
Right.
I'm thinking, wait a minute. So I borrowed a wind-up record player and 8 records.
All right.
And I wrote out some tickets. Grand record dance, 1 shilling. And I sold 12 tickets. And took a room, and the 12 people turned up. And everybody said, oh, isn't it pitted? Nobody's here. But what they didn't realise was, I got 12 bob. But I was only getting 16 bob for the whole week. Sick money.
Yeah, okay.
So suddenly,
Right.
fortunes. Right? And then I got a pal who invented tying the the pickup arm of a gramophone to the innards of a valve radio.
Okay.
The old radio where the valves used to light up, right?
Yeah.
And the noise didn't come out of the box. The noise come out of the valve radio.
Oh,
and you
right,
could turn
okay.
the volume up. Oh, no. In those days, there weren't any electric motors. There was no electric.
And what year was that?
This would be 1945.
So long before rock and roll.
Oh, crams, yes.
All right.
Oh, yeah. And I thought, and thought forever, that there was all this amazing stuff there, where for a shilling you could dance to an orchestra like you couldn't believe, like Joe
Right,
Ross
okay.
or Glenn Miller.
Right.
Unreal.
Yeah.
And I was steadfast in my acceptance that this was the game.
The way to go.
At one point, I asked Savile if he was as happy as he seemed on that Monday morning as we sat in the CRC. He said tellingly that he was happy to be sitting among those children.
Present moment, I'd not rather be anywhere else than here. Obviously, this is a one-off.
Yeah.
It's a today, and that's it. But I don't know that there's every chance that I'll be back again at some time or other.
Right,
Even though it took 21 years. This year it's 50 years old. That's the original critic, not this one.
Yeah.
And because Lady G is not as well as she was.
Right, okay.
And these people are emotional, I understand.
Yeah.
So I've come back again.
Okay.
Using the 50 years as an excuse, but in actual fact, I've come back again just to be outrageous with everybody. And I went to see Lady G yesterday.
Right.
And she's a...
Is she very ill?
Yeah.
All right.
She might make the dinner tonight.
Okay.
But she's got 24-hour carers and things like that.
All right.
And of course I steam in and I say to her, yes, we'll have a drama piece. We'll go to a drama piece.
I thought you didn't drink.
I don't.
Oh, okay.
I don't, but...
Did you have a whiskey with her?
I did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
to be social. But you were never a drinker, she
No,
were?
no.
Not at all?
Not really, no.
A few glasses of wine maybe along the way with dinners,
They give
no?
me a bad head.
Do they? And you were never a druggie?
No, never.
Right.
Never.
You skewed all that was going on all around you?
Never.
Not even all the Purple Hearts in the 60s and the speed and all that?
No.
When you were in the Cromwellian or any of those clubs?
No, never in the Cromwell.
Well, were you
That was
not?
my game. No.
Was it not? Why, did you not play that game with all the kind of
Never.
Johns and Scott Walker and all those people?
No.
Or why did
After
you...
Top of the Pops, they'd go and do their thing in the clubs.
Yeah.
But for me, Top of the Pops was the club.
Okay.
And I'd go from Top of the Pops back to the hotel and then back up to Yorkshire, back up to wherever, because I still have this marvellous, simple life, which I've got today.
Yeah. They'd do their thing and go to a club, but to me, Top of the Pops was a club, and I'd go back to the hotel. Not alone, I bet, Jimmy. And it is noticeable there that Savile seemed pissed off by my earlier use of the word frugal. I had asked if those days working on Top of the Pops and the Teen and 20 Disc Club were peaks in his life, and during that part of the chat, I ended up asking if, as I'd heard, he now lived frugally.
Yes.
Why? I heard you live in like rented rooms, bed sits, caravans.
In England, I live in 7 places.
Okay.
I've got a place in Bournemouth,
All right.
a place in Regent's Park.
But they're
in
small
London.
places,
Flats,
are they?
yes,
Or
yeah,
are they
flats.
not? Well, flats,
Yeah.
okay.
The only house I've got is in Glencoe, in Scotland.
Oh, okay.
Northwest of Scotland.
All right.
And that's a 700-year-old bothy, which is 2,000 feet up a mountain, and it's miles away from anywhere.
Okay.
And it's terrific fun.
And the cigar smoke doesn't bother anyone?
No, that is survival.
Is it?
That is survival par excellence. You don't chop the wood, you don't have the fire,
All right.
you don't get the water, you drink your own piss, whatever.
Now let's hone in on Jimmy Savile's darker side, insofar as my relatively limited 2001 interview will allow us to. The interview was for the Sunday Independent, and someone at the newspaper had sent me the night before a Daily Mail article which touched on subjects I then raised with Savile. Sadly, maybe as a fan, I didn't want to believe what I had read, and I suspected the allegations might be more so a case of the Mail being sensationalist. It should be remembered that the truth about Savile was not known until after his death. And by the way, here I quote Savile and twice repeat his use of the word poofter. It's not a word I use, and I apologise in advance to anyone it may offend. But here we certainly see evidence of Jimmy Savile, the professional answerer and liar. He certainly walks circles around me in a way that now makes me feel ill.
Okay, does the Mail have something against you?
No.
Because I read
they've got nothing against anybody. They're just a paper that does things to people.
Because I read an interview with you last night, and one of them, somebody sent it to me from the paper, and it was all manner, like asking her, are you a psychopath?
Yes.
Asking, are you into children?
Yeah.
And you were saying, I was known as a poofter in the 60s. All that stuff they were bringing up, what is it?
Sure.
I mean, how do you deal with those kind of questions?
Easy.
What?
First of all, I understand why they ask these questions.
Okay.
They've got a living to earn. So, if they want to go on the angle of I will discover something,
yeah.
As you know, the rules today for a lot of the tabloids is it doesn't have to be true.
Yeah.
As long as they can get you to even say something or whatever that will lean towards what they're trying to do.
Right. Okay.
Now then, it's like when I did the television thing with that Louis Theroux. They are looking, as always, like the tabloids, they're looking for a bit of dirt.
Right.
Now, I don't mind that, because if that's their game, they're entitled to work their game.
Right.
Right? But if they say to me, say for them to say, they say you're a puffer or this, and I say, well, it would be a lot worse if it was true. Right?
You say?
Say that to them, you see. It'd be a lot worse if it was true. Right?
All right.
And
all right.
what happens with...
But those things never hurt you, never bother you.
No. What's a man doing his bleeding job? It's like a bleeding Rottweiler. It's no good saying, if you go with a Rottweiler, it bites your bleeding leg. It's no good saying your dog's bit me. It's what it's born to do.
Did it all start in the 60s, though? I was a fan of yours in the 60s. I listened to the Teen and 20 Disc Club stuff.
No. It's the tabloids. When it started, I'll tell you when it started. It started about just before, about 5 years before the Falklands.
Okay.
It was the Sun that started it.
All right.
And I had a fellow with a nervous breakdown in our hospital at Stoke Mandeville who worked for the Sun as a reporter.
Right.
He got suddenly, it come from a provincial paper. He got plenty of money. He bought a mortgage and a house and a this, that, and the other. And then they wanted him to write what wasn't true.
Okay.
See? And he said, I can't do that.
All right.
And so they said, okay. So he'd take his stories. They'd be rewritten by the Sub,
All right.
but using his byline.
Right,
to
okay.
totalise. And he had such a problem, he had a nervous breakdown.
All right, okay.
Because he needed the money to pay the mortgage,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Now, if tabloids...
And was it him who wrote those stories, started writing that story about you? All right.
Oh, no. From time to time, obviously, they've all had a pop.
Yeah.
Because, you know, to have a pop of me, to have a pop of Cliff
Yeah,
Richard, to have
yeah.
a pop of all these people, of course,
Sure.
it's a good thing. The difference is that I don't get upset.
Okay,
It
all
doesn't
right.
bother me in the slightest.
All right.
Because it's what they do.
Okay.
And if it's what they do, who am I to say that they shouldn't do things or they should do things? Who am I to say that a Rottweiler shouldn't bite you?
All
It's
right.
what it does.
Okay, but I mean, when I read that article and it said that you were into little girls, I mean, that to
Yeah.
me, I would have to take a...
No,
you know.
no, I don't give a fuck.
Do you know
Doesn't
about
bother
even
me the
that?
slightest.
Okay.
No.
But would it affect, we'd say, you know, the perception the kids will have you in school if it
No,
becomes
because
a
they don't
time?
read papers like that.
And would it affect your position in work, like the
No.
BBC or anything like
No.
that, those
No,
stories?
people can take. People can
All
take.
right.
I've always known that they can take a bet, either what they read or what they
All right,
see.
all right, all right.
And I'm perfectly happy to cruise through life.
Okay.
And if you think that you're in a profile position and you can stop newspapers and interviewers
right.
having a go like that, you've got another thing coming.
All right,
I mean, Keith
okay.
and you couldn't do that.
Okay.
You know?
So you're not into children and you're not into necrophilia?
Not.
So we can get all that out of the way.
Sure. But I don't mind if people want to go down that, because that is very lazy.
You don't mind if people want to go, yeah.
Because it's lazy journalism.
Yeah,
that's
all
what I
right,
say.
all right, okay.
So all of those things, I mean, the necrophilic things, what I did as a hospital porter.
Yeah.
And I said, well, hospital
In Stoke
porters are
Mandeville?
quite wide. No, Leeds Infirmary.
All right, okay, yeah, when you worked there.
Leeds Infirmary.
Right,
So
yeah.
I'm still there today.
Yeah, okay.
So what do you do? And I said, well, we do all sorts of things. We'll take milk onto the wards, crates of milk, and we'll take the lately deceased from the wards
Right.
To the mortuary.
Right.
And that was it, bingo. He worked with dead bodies and this, that, and the other. That doesn't bother me at all.
However, I did not leave the subject of that, as you shall hear. But first, I asked Savile about another tabloid story which claimed that he spent 5 days in a room with the corpse of his mother.
Yes, well, of course, that got played out. You see, as you know, a Catholic funeral,
Yeah.
not like a Jewish funeral. Now, the Duchess died in my
Okay.
sister's house on the coast in Filey, because it was a sudden death.
Right,
PM. So from the moment of dying
right.
to the burial, is a week at least. So what they did was they brought the Duchess across to Leeds, where she's buried, from one sister's house to another sister's house.
Right.
Now there we are. As many of us can be. It's like a wake. You know, to me, that was a terrific 5 days because, first of all, for me...
Were you alone with her, or was it all the rest of the clan?
There was brothers, sisters, in-laws, outlaws, uplaws, downlaws. And it was a terrific time for me for two reasons.
All right.
One, the big reason was that the Dutch would never get mugged. We know what happened to old people today.
Yeah, we do.
They get con people at the door and things like that.
Yeah.
That would never happen to her. She'd never get knocked over. She wouldn't lie in a hospital, fading away and being in discomfort. So by my standards, she was well lucky. She was 85 and she'd had a terrific life and she'd gone. So if I say that I had 5 good days, suddenly I'm in a necrophiliac.
Yeah, no, I didn't link it to that. I thought that was very touching that you did that. But I did have this image of you on your own, maybe talking out your life with her or whatever. It wasn't like that.
No. What happened was, first of all, when you've got it like that, there are times in the afternoon, we'll say, when I was at work or whatever, that I'll just go and sit in there and have a bit of a cigar. Yeah. Because when you've been pals with somebody...
And talk to her. Would you talk with her?
No, I could think with her. What I did anyway, was just let your mind completely free wheel.
Okay.
You might think about this, you might think about that.
Yeah.
But if you've been pals with somebody, like I've been pals, for all that length of time, it takes some adjustment that you've lost a pal.
Yeah.
Now, you don't get morbid about it. I don't, anyway.
But did you not even get depressed at that point? She was the Duchess.
No, I was happy for her.
But she was gone. She was gone from you.
I wasn't bothered about me. Bollocks to me. I'm still here.
Okay.
I was bothered about her.
Right.
She was fiercely independent. She wouldn't live with anybody. Right. Live on her own.
Did she not live with you in the final?
Oh, yeah. But I'm forever about. I do
okay. All right. Okay.
Gigs, I'm doing this.
Right.
I'm doing that.
Okay.
Of course, I came home, but I could be away for a week, 10 days at a time.
All right.
Could be there the whole time for protection.
Yeah.
And of course, one thinks of what might happen, right? And if that does happen to old people, I'd rather it didn't happen to the Duchess.
Right.
So if you're looking for a cloud with a silver lining, the silver lining is that you may be a big emptiness because she's not there, which of course there was. But you superimpose that with, hey, ain't nothing like that going to happen to her now.
All right.
Oh, wow, ain't no muggins,
All right.
ain't no this, because that would have really pissed her off if somebody hit her on the head and stuff like that, you know what I mean? It would have destroyed the life because she was a sort of a person that thought the best of everybody.
Right, okay.
And,
but you always apply logic to pain. You seem to distance yourself the minute an emotion hits you. You jump over here and go, how do I analyse that?
I think analysing it is getting very close to it.
All right.
I think analysing it
all right.
is
working your way in.
Right. If somebody says, if a girl said, do you love me? I'll say, hey, let's have a talk about that. No, because, so you're not supposed to say it. You're supposed to say, yes, you bastard. Do you see what I mean?
You're real romantic.
No, well, yeah, but it can't be everybody the same.
But what that thing on Claire, you didn't mean I'm a man with no emotion. You didn't mean I'm a man who never cried and has no emotion.
I'll tell you the thing about Anthony. He had tried, his programme was tried for nearly 2 years.
Okay.
To get me on, and I said, it's pointless me going on that programme.
Right.
Because you can only be psychoanalysed if you've got a problem.
Okay.
I never got any problem.
Okay.
So there's no point of it. And I went, but we need to do that. And for 2 years. And I said, and before it even started, I said to the man, I said, you're gonna have to work hard.
Right.
Because if you can't cure somebody that isn't there to be cured in the first place.
Okay.
And I swear to you, the programme was about 7 minutes in, and he suddenly realised, he started to perspire down here.
Oh, okay.
From down here.
All right.
And I carried the programme for nearly an hour.
All right, I never heard it. Okay, all right.
I carried it.
But that claim about the comment about not having emotion, what did that? Just to clarify that for my readers.
Right. It's rather like a tabloid. They're always pushing for something that, in my case, is not there. Now, if you're asking me a question about something that's not there, what sort of answer can I give? I can only give a positive answer to something that's not on, that's not there. And when he says things about emotion, he's wanting that because the time before it had a woman on, a woman writer.
Oh, Claire Rayner, who wept on air.
Yes, and all that.
That's right.
To a broadcaster, that's wonderful.
to a psychiatrist, it's wrong though. He shouldn't have done that.
No, but it,
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but to a broadcaster, it's
Yeah,
wonderful.
all right.
Because
To have
that's the
somebody
thing.
crying.
Now, you
Okay.
get a hard-nosed like me,
Right.
right, who is totally sort of ruthless when it comes to discussing things, and say, emotion, what for?
Okay.
And we go, so you have no room for emotion then?
Right. Okay.
Well,
all
if
right.
it means being stupid, no. You see?
All right.
So I would.
But you
be-
told me you never were in love.
No. You see, love. But you didn't identify what love is.
Okay.
I know
yeah.
what it is from my point of view.
Okay.
It's
all
being
right.
stupid and illogical.
Okay. You're a black romantic, all right.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. At least I'm honest. You've got to give me 10 out of 10
But you
for being
loved your
honest.
mother, for God's sake.
Yeah, of course, because that's a different sort of love to the love that you're talking about.
Right. Okay.
You see, with the Duchess, wasn't so much love as the word respect.
Okay.
I respected
Did
her.
you ever say, "Mom, I love you"?
No. If you substitute the word respect
All right.
for love,
All right.
then now I'll go with respect. Oh, terrific, yeah. I mean, all these girls you're talking about that I've had,
Yeah.
I've not had one that I never actually respected.
All right.
Because I
Okay.
wouldn't have
All
had
right.
anything to do with them in the first place if I didn't respect them.
Do you have one? Do you have a companion in your life now?
What?
A companion?
No.
Has it been years?
Nothing in my life. I never had one.
All right. Do you even have dates? Do you have
Oh,
sex?
yeah, plenty of dates.
Sex?
When I get taken advantage of.
But so you're not lonely, even with
No.
even in the years after the Duchess and
No,
on that,
not at all.
and you never had any desire to have kids.
Oh, no.
In fact, did you say you hate kids? Actually,
Yeah.
that was your riposte to how can I be into children when I hate
yeah,
kids?
yeah. It's easier to say that, isn't it? Than explain why it is you don't want any of this and that. Because you see, the person answering the question, their interpretation of the question could be different to my interpretation
All right,
of the same
all
thing.
right.
Where I've substituted the word respect, where you put in the word love,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
And to me, it's easier to live with respect than it is to find out what you mean by love.
All right. And what about when they said you hate children? What did that mean? What word would you put in? What do you mean you hate
Right,
children?
I'll tell you for why.
All right.
Because the world's full of very funny people. Right? The world's very funny tabloid newspaper people.
Okay.
And they say, oh, you love children then? I say, no, I hate them. That knacks their line of inquiry.
Because they're trying to go down the other path.
Exactly.
All right.
Exactly.
All right.
Now
Because if
then-
you love children, then
Right. Now then, I have exactly the same situation, child-wise, as I have girl-wise. If there's respect there,
Right.
that's terrific.
Yes, Jimmy Savile did say he never had a girl he didn't respect. And it's here in my 2001 tape recording with Savile really begins to sound creepy in hindsight. Most heinously during the next quote, when Savile, using his tendency or ploy of substituting the word respect for the word love, actually tells me he had already identified in the CRC 3 or 4 children that, as he says, he had respect for.
Here, for instance, I can take you here now, and I've identified 3 or 4 kids, in fact they might be coming for lunch in a minute, that one has respect for.
Right.
Right? Now, so if somebody said, you hate that kid, I said, don't hate the bleeding kid at all, but I respect him enormously.
All right.
You see?
All right.
What-
All right.
We all know what the newspaper's trying to do. They're trying to go down that dirty road,
All
the
right.
sordid road,
right.
and it was easy for me to say, no, I hate him.
Then how?
Because
Then it shuts them up. It shuts it up.
Well, they know they're not. There's no point in going down that road.
Does the idea of anyone who's an adult being into children repel you?
Yes. Yeah.
Because all the work you've done with children on the TV show and all that stuff.
Sure. Yes, because you see, they can't keep harping on to this word respect. Respect is that I will have a code of conduct to whoever, right? Boy, girl, adult, child, whatever. I would never have the time to excuse that. I just put it there. That's an unnice thing to do. It's not my world. In fact, I'd rather not even opinionate on it because it's not my world. We'll leave it to the Anthony Clares of this world to sort
Okay.
out psychologies and
Of
this
child
and
abuse and that kind
and
of
all
stuff.
that sort of stuff. Yeah, but
Right.
but I will certainly stand up and say that sort of thing is a very sickening thing. It's not part of my world, and I have no wish to correct those.
All right.
I'd much rather come here and have a terrific time,
Right.
whereas another
Right.
person
Right.
would want to go clinically and cure those people.
All right.
I wouldn't want to.
Okay.
I wouldn't want to have that as a job.
All right.
That may be the single most repellent quote on this programme. And let me say here that I was morally torn in terms of giving airspace to Jimmy Savile and to such quotes. Then again, I did use some for an article in the Irish Times in 2012, and I'd rather these tapes be part of the National Archives in RTE than end up in a skip after I die. But I honestly hadn't remembered that I actually asked Savile if the idea of adults being into children repelled him. Soon afterwards, I asked if he felt he carried on his mother's good spirit.
You kind of carry on your mother's approach to life, don't you? Good spirit.
No, I had to relearn from her because she was an adult.
No, I mean just give a spirit where you're trying to give generously to kids, to whoever.
Yeah, well, of course, the trick is, with me, I never know whether my attitude and approach is the right one or the wrong one. Only time tells. Now, here's one of that China's down there, that lad down there, you see. Now, he was there when I first came here, 28 years ago.
Right.
Sound lad. And we have this sort of total respect for each other, and that's what I mean by respect, you understand?
Right, okay. But you never even had a moment where you said, I'd love to have a son or a daughter?
No, never. Excuse me, this gentleman here
Hi there.
says that with you being better looking than me, do I feel psychologically scarred?
Yeah.
And the answer is yes.
All right.
This is Eddie. Now,
Hi,
as you
Eddie.
know, the word Eddie is a very famous name. There's Eddie Kidd, the stunt man.
That's right.
Eddie the Eagle.
Right.
And there is the CRC's Eddie.
Okay.
And he beats all of them into a cocked hat.
All right, okay. Right.
So that's it. You want a picture? Come here.
Yeah. Finish that question
No, you're
for me
all right, there's plenty of time.
about not ever having a moment where you said I'd like a son or daughter.
You'll pick up more atmosphere from these people
Yeah, I know,
than
it's
you will
lovely, Phil.
from my answers.
All right.
Which is why I do an interview here.
Yeah, no,
as
I know
against
you
doing
chose
it in
that.
the room.
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah, because this is where Okay, guys, here's my team down there, look.
All right.
Hey? Okay, my friend.
How's it going?
Everything okay? How you doing?
Grant.
Okay. Good. You learning plenty today in the school?
Hi.
Good. Listen, you guys learning plenty then, or what?
Yeah.
You're studying hard, yeah? Okay, I want you to be much more clever than me. Because me, I'm a dunce. So you got to be clever. Okay.
Nice jacket.
Thank you. What about the trousers? Morning. I got out of bed this morning, by a mistake, I put the curtains on instead of my suit. Right, I'll see you guys later, okay?
All right.
See you later. Mind yourself. Right, okay. Thank you, my darling. Yes.
Okay, so just that, again, never having the moment where you said, I want one.
Yeah,
I want one of my own. Like,
No,
you know, some people have kids
I've got
because
all these.
All right, but some people have children because they don't want to die. They want to have something to carry
Really?
on the name and all that.
I ain't going to die anyway.
No,
It's
but
still
carry
good
on the
here.
legacy
It's
and
still good here.
the spirit.
Oh, bollocks to the legacy.
All right, no, you don't. You
No,
don't
I'm
worry.
not into all that.
Are you not?
No.
All right.
Listen, if I go, I'm gone. And that's all there is to it.
What do you think your legacy will be?
I've got one. And I won't be here to know it, will I?
All right. Okay.
See, if I
You
go-
don't think of those questions like, how will they remember me? What will I be remembered for?
No, all I say is, hey, go in. It's too good here.
Bollocks to the legacy, said Savile. I'll second that. And given that I was being told it was time to go, I wrapped up my interview by asking why Jimmy Savile was no longer doing TV or radio.
I've done that interview I did with that Louis Theroux kid.
Oh, okay.
Just won a BAFTA 4 weeks ago.
All right.
So I mean,
But you're not doing your own series like the Jim Fixits or
no,
any of
20 years
those.
on Top of the Pops.
Yeah.
20 years of Jim Fix.
Yeah.
And I'm doing the next 20 years as a legend because it allows me to come here.
Then, as I'd promised Savile I would, he and I did a walkabout and I said hi to a lot of the children in the CRC. We also were joined by my girlfriend at the time, who had asked if she could collect me in a car because she wanted to meet Savile, having fond memories of him from the show Jim Will Fix It. She was sorry she did. Later she said, you know, there's something really creepy about that guy. My reply to that was, yeah, I feel somehow spiritually polluted by being in his presence, though I don't know why. But at least, for all the failings of this interview, I was the first Irish journalist to raise with Jimmy Savile the subject of child abuse. And after we did that walk and he said, you can't kid that, pointing towards those children in the CRC, I did suggest that the ones who might be most damaged if those rumours turned out to be true were those children to whom he had been a hero.
I always say like I said to yourself, come for a walk round, and that has to be the truth.
Right.
The walk round has to be the truth.
All right.
With respect, my answers, one could call me a professional answerer.
I've seen that said of you.
Yeah, right.
That you have everything pad off and you're not going to give too much away.
No. It's not a question of giving too much away. It's you're a professional answer, but you can't kid that.
All right.
That's what it's about.
But if all those stories that you were addressing from tabloids, if that got into their little minds and made them turn against you, surely that would frighten you.
No,
it
wouldn't.
All right.
Make them turn against me at all.
All right. Okay.
These people. One thing about these people, they smell the truth.
Okay. All right.
They sense it.
Right.
Grown-ups should be kidded. These can't be kidded.
Hi, Joe Jackson here again. I thank you for listening to this edition of the Joe Jackson Interviews podcast. More can be heard on my website, joejacksoninterviewer.com.